This sounds like a scam, but I like it.
I have issue with because it's like it basically just sucks all the fun out of a game.
You see him pour everything into it, you know.
Growing up, I didn't really watch anime.
So last night, I was watching this anime called Yumera Patisserie with my girlfriend, and it's it's like one of her favorite shows, and it's from a first thought, like watching the first few episodes. I think we're on episode like 8 so far. There's like 50 episodes in like the first season, and then they move on to like this thing called Yumera Patisserie Professional. The final season or whatever. But so far, it feels like Food Wars.
To watch that.
I've been watching Food Wars with her too. That's another show that we've been watching. But they're pretty similar. They both got some sort of like baking/cooking element, and there's like some competition. The only difference is like for Yumera Patisserie, the main character is really bad at cooking. Or not cooking, baking. She's really bad at baking, but she ends up in a group of really top-notch like bakers. They call them the sweet princes, because they're really good at baking. But then for Food Wars, he's like been running a restaurant for who knows how many years, like with his dad. So he's like he knows a thing or two.
It's kind of like what's his name in Black Clover? The main guy, he can't do magic.
Asta?
Yeah, he can't do magic, and then he's like, and then I guess he suddenly can do magic. I don't know if the character in the show you're talking about can suddenly bake.
No, actually, she practices from like hard work and determination. She gets these things called spirits.
So she's Deku if he could bake.
I guess, in a sense.
I have to relate everything to a shonen anime. You can't stop me here.
Okay. That's true.
I'm unstoppable. That's all I've seen.
But yeah.
Unless...
That's what I've seen within the past few days, ever since the last episode. Have you been watching anything? You said you've watched Eden Zero, right?
I started watching Eden Zero.
How do you like it?
It's pretty good. It definitely feels a lot like Fairy Tail. It definitely
it has like that fan servicey stuff, right? But it's not. Yeah, it's not like overboard. Well, the service is still overboard, but it's not as far as Fairy Tail.
Episode 6 or 7, I think. I don't know exactly where I'm at. The last thing that I saw was they had just met up with Professor Weiss. And then they were going into the ship, and then the lady shows up in the giant Thanos-looking ship.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I'm at. So I think I'm on episode like.
Have you seen her? Have you seen her?
The girl with the red hair.
Yes.
She showed up once and like scared the crap out of the girl with the glasses.
Wait, did you hear her voice though? I think it's literally the same. I think they keep some of the same voice actors
from Fairy Tail,
which is really cool. Yeah, from Fairy Tail. I'm not really sure though.
Well,
I mean, they're pretty darn similar,
I think Lucy's voiced by, at least in the dub, Lucy's voiced by the same girl that does Asuna, I think. I don't think it's the same voice actor.
They're pretty similar, I'd say.
Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. I may have not just been paying attention. But I actually haven't recognized too many voice actors from that show. But the gravity powers are pretty cool, or gravity magic, I guess, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm more keen to like fire powers or like some sort of, I don't know, gravity. It's not really my thing. Like when from my point of view, if I were to have a superpower, I think gravity would not be it.
Yeah, I think
I like to shoot fireballs.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
How would you?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I was gonna say, how would you compare it to like the quirks from My Hero? They've got like their quirks, but there's not really like a drawback to his gravity power.
I don't know. It's
sort of just like he has this magic, and then he's able to like do stuff with it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like so far he's gotten stronger and stronger, just kind of out of nowhere, and that happens a little too often in anime, I find. Where it's like you don't see. I mean, My Hero Academia did it, where it's like you see the characters. I like the way they power up the characters, because oftentimes in anime it's just kind of like suddenly it's like I'm angrier, so now I'm stronger. I liked in Jujutsu Kaisen when I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's a part where Yuji gets very, very mad. And usually in anime, when a character gets utterly pissed off, especially the protagonist, they get super strong. But he doesn't get stronger. He doesn't get weaker either. He just gets like careless because he's just pissed off. So he's just like throwing hands with this guy. And he's like not winning at all. I think he gets a few good hits in, but overall it's like the fight doesn't really change. So I like that because that's a pretty realistic way of like getting angry. Like you don't suddenly, there's adrenaline, don't get me wrong, that will make you a little bit stronger. But I don't know. Oftentimes in anime, it's like you'll see a character they're on like My Hero Academia even has done this, where it's like characters like on the verge of death basically, and then the villain's like just fine. Like he has like maybe a couple bruises or whatever, but overall he's fine. And then suddenly, the character just gets utterly pissed off, and then can beat the villain outright, and it's like, what? You were dying 2 seconds ago.
you know what I think it is. I think a lot of shows have like this that sort of aspect of rage, and it comes from like the power of friendship, and I think that's like it's like the best trope. I think
Eden Zero is definitely the one I've seen, because like Shiki just met Rebecca and he's like, I'm gonna fight for you, and it's like I understand the whole part about like the was it the Demon King? Or am I thinking of a different show?
Yeah.
He was like, if you ever find someone that'll cry for you, and then she cries for him, and then he's like, ah! And then he starts throwing hands.
I must protect her. I think it's cool. I mean, for those that haven't seen Eden Zero, it's basically Shiki, who's the main character. Yeah. He was raised on a planet full of robots. And so he doesn't really have any he hasn't had any contact with other humans.
Yeah,
so
that was definitely...
when he meets a human for the first time, he's like super impressed. He's like, oh, human.
Yeah, and it happened in Sword Art too. But like the first thing that he does when he sees her is he gropes her, and it's like, okay, this is a little weird. And then funny story actually. So I was, I think it was like Tuesday. So yesterday. Okay, it wasn't yesterday. It was Monday then. I was gonna watch. More Eden Zero. So I put it on, and my brother was in my room. And then immediately, as soon as Rebecca was on screen, he was like, "What the fuck?" Because of her character design. He was immediately like, "Oh, okay." But overall, the show so far, I've enjoyed it. I'm gonna finish it. And I've definitely.
It's pretty short.
It. Yeah. And then there's supposed to be more.
I think in what 2 weeks? The 24th. It's either the 24th or 19th.
Yeah, actually, almost exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of like release dates, Oh wait, what were you gonna say?
Wait, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl comes out.
That does come out next week, I think.
After next week, I think it's the 19th.
Yeah, so next week. Holy shit. Oh man.
Me and my girlfriend are excited to play that.
I'm real happy, man. I'm just gonna sit here in my room by myself and play some Pokemon.
I've been looking on Twitter. Apparently, or I don't know if it's true or not. They might be making it up, but they say like this, like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are like from the same ROM. I think that might be a joke though.
Oh,
that it's like a ROM.
But I thought it was also that's how it's always been with Pokemon. Like it's always been the same version. They just swap out some sprites and like different slightly they do a few different changes. Because I thought at least unless I'm misunderstanding something. But I always thought that was like well-known knowledge that like it's essentially the same game. I don't know if it's the exact same copy, but I always thought it was just the same game with a couple of different changes. And then, when like Platinum came along, they did more like bigger changes that would warrant that they can't just like patch the game kind of thing.
Yeah.
Me personally, the other thing I have an issue with, if actually we can probably talk about this a little bit, is it was the same thing with Sword and Shield were coming out, and everyone was just losing their minds about how bad the games looked and everything, how easy Pokemon is. I think my problem is now is just like, well, Pokemon is for kids. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that kids are idiots and they need to have little baby games, but I'm also not saying that you should give a baby like a 4-year-old Dark Souls. But I think that like what personally my perfect Pokemon game would be either, even it doesn't have to be after you beat it, would be to give a challenge mode, and then also like a randomizer aspect built into the game would be my perfect Pokemon game. I know they're probably never gonna do it, but they did challenge mode in Black 2 White 2. I don't know how much harder that made the game. But
they increased the levels, and I think the AI might be like harder.
Yeah. I think the other thing is that I've played a lot of like Drayano ROM hacks now, and those are fucking hard. So it's like when I go and play something like I played Let's Go Eevee when I got my Switch, and I played the whole game in like a week. I was like, it was very refreshing because one, it was the first time I had played through a Pokemon game without doing a Nuzlocke in years. And it was still pretty fun. But that being said, I still found the game to be like, there was a couple fights that were a little challenging actually, because I didn't grind at all, and I didn't catch so many Pokemon. I basically just stormed through the game with a Gyarados. And then then I switched to my Eevee. That's one thing I have problem with that game. Biggest problem is how overpowered that Eevee is. That Eevee is insane.
I think they do that on purpose, but I get your point. It's like, I understand it's my partner.
Yeah, but it's like in the Pokemon Center, it can learn like every type, and it's like, it's not just like, oh, here's a 40 power electric move or whatever. It's like they're all really strong type moves. So it's like, okay, whatever gym I'm going into, I can just run back to the Pokemon Center, teach my Eevee that move to just absolutely sweep the next gym.
Yeah.
That being said, though, doing a Nuzlocke on that game I feel like would be very hard, because it's like there's no grinding. The only way to get levels is to fight trainers or to catch Pokemon.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I feel like doing a Nuzlocke on that game would be very tough.
Yeah, you can't. There are no like wild battles, right? It's just you encounter Pokemon, you catch it.
Yeah. But I don't know. Going back to my original point, with people complaining about Sword and Shield and how bad they looked, and then Diamond Shining Pearl. The only part I agree on is I think it's a little too expensive. It's an $80 game for something I can essentially, or $80 Canadian, is something I can
60 for US. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially that's something I can just go, like I can go play that. I can play that literally right now. I could boot up Pokemon Diamond right now. I just won't have all the fancy graphics, and it won't be on the Switch.
Yeah.
But still, so it's like that's the only thing I disagree on. I wish it'd be a little bit cheaper.
I think nowadays the reason why games are going up is just like the technology, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we like back in the day, my first like, I guess, console was like a 3DS. It was like it was called Cosmo Black. That was like the color, and
I see.
It wasn't like the new 3DS, you know. It was like the really the first ones, you know, the ones that flip open.
Yeah.
So, why did I bring that up? We were talking about.
I don't know. We were talking about technology being better.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, Pokemon games like in that time frame were like maybe around the $30, maybe $40 range, but it was mostly like either low.
Yeah.
The low side would have been like 20s, and then the high side would have been like towards 40.
When Alpha Sapphire came out, I think I paid like $50 Canadian for that. $50 or $60 Canadian for that. So I guess, yeah. I mean, prices for games have just gone up in general.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, this is a good example with the PS5 that came out. It's a year old now, or it's about to be. like right now the average for a brand new game is $80, but now with some PS5 games, it's been like 95 Canadian.
Oh,
Which is
whoa.
like, ouch. Back in my day, that
Yeah.
was like the collector's edition, and now it's like this is the standard thing. I think what was it? I saw it on Steam. Oh shit, what was it? I saw a game and it was like the ultimate edition was like $150, and it's like you get some cosmetic items and stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, I think as I'm getting older, cosmetic items and stuff, just I'm like,
It just doesn't appeal to me like
it
at
just
all,
yeah, it doesn't. I guess because I'm just kind of like I look at the cost of things now, and it's like yeah, I don't know. It's just not really like Overwatch. When I was younger, I remember I spent like $50 on loot boxes once.
Oh
And
no.
I got like a bunch of legendary skins, and I was like, "Oh, let's go!" And now I'm like, I spent $50 on that. What the fuck is wrong with me?
I'll tell you what. My boss plays this game called Zuba. It's like a mobile battle royale game. You control like these little animals, and then you run around the map. It's like a zoo, and you just pick up weapons. You fight everyone. So he and his girlfriend have like spent hundreds of dollars in this game, and they'll like tell us, like the coworkers, they're like, yeah, like we spent so much money like trying to level up our characters, because how it works is like when you first start a game, there's sort of that free to play aspect, even though it's like the game is free to download. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be
Like
easy for those. Yeah, it's almost pay to win. Well, it pretty much is pay to win, because you put in money, and then in return they give you like they give you some sort of experience thing so that you can level up your characters, and then the higher your levels of your characters, the better your characters do in the games, because they don't balance the levels. So it's just funny that you mentioned that like you spent $50 on loot boxes. They spent like hundreds, like doing transactions just to like level up their characters, and I'm like, geez. I mean, to be fair, I think they've played this game ever since I've met them, which was like what, 2 years ago, and they're still playing the game. They love it. Sometimes I'll play with them. We played like I think I had stayed. It was like a whole day shift, so I was like working from from open to close. And like towards the evening, they were like, "Oh, you want to like hop on?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And they were like, they had like their higher level characters. Meanwhile, I was like, I think my highest character was like a level 8, which is like maybe 4 levels under what they had. And I was like getting one shot by like everyone else. And then every time I had to be like, "Oh my gosh, save me, save me!" It's just weird. That's just the difference between like, putting money into a game and being free to play.
I think I think it also becomes like habit at a certain point.
Yeah.
But like pay to win is something I have issue with, because it's like it basically just sucks all the fun out of a game. At least from my experience, there's been plenty of games that I've played, and it's like, oh, sick, and then it's like don't get me wrong, I don't mind microtransactions to a certain extent. If it's like cosmetic stuff, that's perfectly fine. If someone wants to spend $10 to get a funny hat for their character, that's whatever. But when it's like, hey, spend $20 to get an XP boost, right? And it's like, okay, so now for the next 3 days, you get way more experience than everyone else. So now you're getting higher levels and you're getting better weapons and all that stuff. That's when I start to take issue with it. Because now it's like, okay, well, if I want to have fun at this game, I got to spend money on this game. But it's like the reason I was interested in this because it was free. So it's like every time I see free to play now, I'm immediately like, So I don't know. But there's other things like, I think it's also like, what's it called? I forgot exactly what I was gonna say. God damn it.
I was gonna bring up. I was gonna bring up. I think it was sometime last year, or maybe like a year and a half ago. I streamed this game called Vanguard Zero. It's pretty much like a it's like a mobile version of like the regular Card Fight Vanguard game. They kind of like made some mechanics different to fit a mobile game. But I remember being free to play was so easy. Like when the game first launched, that there was this thing called VP farming. VP are like these points you get each time you go into like a battle with someone else, right? And no matter what, like if you win or lose, you just get points. So what people did was like they could have some sort of like clicker that just, you know, it auto clicks on your phone, and then they just program the switches to hit whatever buttons to have like the next fight. And so what they would do is they would just have it sit overnight, auto clicking, having like playing random, like keep fighting and whatnot, and then they just accumulate VP, and then that VP, based on how many VP you like get rewards. So like if you get like 1,000 or like 1,000,000 VP, you get like lots of gems or like booster packs or whatnot. And like it was exploited so much that like the company had to be like, okay, we're gonna reset the VP system, so it's gonna be based on how much damage you do, you know. And at that point, it stopped being so easy to be free to play. But I think that was a good thing, because if they didn't do that, there'd be a lot of boring matches. Because I remember I was like streaming one day, I was like hitting like I was going up against like 10 VP farmers in a row, is what they called them.
Isn't that weird though? Like humans are crazy. The fact that like I used to play Best Fiends all the time. And that's just like you get like little creatures, and then you tap the screen, and it's like, oh, your number goes up. It's saying like with like a cookie clicker and stuff like that. I'm like, I guess it's like after a certain point, I start to question. I'm like, what is the point of this? It's like the number's bigger, and I feel like a caveman. It's like the number gets bigger, and I'm like, let's go, but it doesn't mean anything. So it's like it's insane. Because it's like, yeah, I used to do similar stuff. Like, oh, what was it? It might have been Best Fiends. There was a mobile game that, oh no, it was like one of those like Dragon Quests or something like that, where you have to like, you can like make creatures and you gotta hatch the egg, and it's like,
is it those things they give you like a plot of land to like put structures on, and then you can like hatch eggs and
you put the
whatnot.
habitat, and you get, but like I don't know if you can still do it, and I don't remember the name of the game. But you could go into your phone settings and change the time to like a week from now, and then the egg would hatch.
Oh yeah,
so I would.
Dude, I used to do that all the time. Yeah,
and it's like I was such a little shit. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing with like the only game I never cheated in was Pokemon. Because in school I had a bunch of friends that there's this one kid like specifically. He had one of those what's it called? It's like one of those DS things that has a bunch of DS ROMs on it, and I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I was gonna say
like Game Shark or something.
Yeah, something like
for
that.
Action Replay.
Yeah. Anyway, but he had a way of getting his DS onto his computer, and he would like hack in a bunch of like, it's like, oh hey, look at my shiny Mewtwo, and I got totally legit, and we're playing like Heart Gold. And he'd come to school and he'd show everyone his level 100 Mewtwo, and it'd kick everyone's ass. And it's like, you know, and we all thought he was the coolest. And then I was at his house one day, and he was like, yeah, look at it, it's so easy. I could just, and he'd like type it in Pokégen, like basically the equivalent of just typing in like strong Pokemon and throwing to his game. And then it was like, yeah, it's so easy. And it's like, yeah, but it's not fun now. Because he's kicking my like Pikachu's ass, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I also worked my ass off to get that Pikachu to level 50. so it's like, I'm okay with that.
That reminds me, back when I was in middle school, I'm surprised he even like made me trigger this memory. I thought this was like buried deep under everything, but like back in
deep-seated trauma.
Back in middle school, there was this kid. We were in band together. There was this kid. He played the baritone. And he was a year younger than me. And he played Pokemon. So I was like, "Oh, you play Pokemon too?" And then we got our friend codes, and then we played Pokemon and whatnot. I think we both played like X and Y. I think that was around the time that came out. And so what we did was like, when we got home, we would like have Wi-Fi battles and whatnot. And he had like his entire team was stacked, like level 100s, everything. And I was like, I was not ready for this. I had just beaten like the game. So like, I think all my Pokemon were like I think it's like level 50 or something. I think it's a little bit lower than normal. But like, they're like,
yeah, it was like, I had a couple
so
like,
much
45s.
lower. And I'm just like, man, I'm totally not gonna beat this guy. So time went on, and I get my team to like level 100, the team that I want, and so I go back to him and like I'm like, hey, you want to play again? And he was like, yeah, sure. So we play. I think it was like in the cafeteria or something. We just play, and then I'm like, I like beat him, and then he's like, I don't want to play anymore, and then he just stopped being my friend. I'm like, okay. I see how it is. And he had a full team of legendaries. You know that? It was like
those
Mewtwo, Kyogre. I was like, dude, come on.
I forget what I was gonna say. Damn it. Poopy butts.
Did you ever play with Pokemon cards like in school?
I did collect Pokemon cards for a while. I went through a phase of collecting a bunch of Pokemon cards, and I had a binder. I think the only card I have left is a Houndour card on my shelf.
Wow. That's perfect for Zuko.
Yeah, well, yeah, Houndour is my favorite Pokemon. But I had like one of those EX shiny like Rayquaza things. I don't know. The thing is, like, now when I saw the stuff with Pokemon cards being like worth millions, I was like, oh man, I wonder if I had a card I could have sold. I ended up giving my binder to a kid on the bus, I think.
Yeah, like an entire binder? Like, was it full?
I think so. I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
I was just kind of like,
that kid's probably filthy rich now.
He might be. I have no idea. If he is, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Dude, around the time that like Pokemon cards, the whole boom thing with Logan Paul, I started collecting, instead of Pokemon cards, I got Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I was like, oh, if Pokemon cards started are getting popular, maybe Yu-Gi-Oh would. Maybe everyone's starting to get on like this whole trading card thing. So I went out and I went to a bunch of Targets, because sometimes Target will have like,
I don't have Target.
They repack. So they'll take the booster pack and then they'll just put it in like some cardboard with like some plastic over it. They call them like, I think, blister packs. So I went to a bunch of Targets, Walmarts, and I found a lot of those booster packs from, it was the very first, I guess you can say the very first set of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's called Legend of Blue Eyes. They might have been reprinted sets, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, hey, like, it's been a while since like this set has been printed, so let's print it again, let's release it out onto the market. So I think what someone did was like they had either they reprinted it or they just had like a whole buttload of packs laying around, but that they just ship them out to like Target. So I went out, I bought like every single one I could find of just Legend of Blue Eyes, so I could get that's like the set where you have like Blue Eyes White Dragon, but it's not like the Blue Eyes White Dragon like in the anime. It's like the one, it kind of has like a broken neck. I wish I could show you. So there was that one. They had like Dark Magician, they had Red Eyes Black Dragon, all like the iconic guys. It was really cool. And I think like recently, like I think a few months ago, I had just finished my collection. I had like one of every card from the set, and it felt really nice. I was like, At first, I did want to collect the cards to like sell them. It's like, oh, maybe I could get these graded, sent to the grading, and if they're high, they might be worth a lot of money, especially like the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is like probably the most sought out card. But then as I collected the cards and I like saw like how it was like oddly satisfying, just like having an entire binder, just like one of every card in the set, I was like, I think I'll just hold on to it because it just looks really cool. So now like on my shelf I have like an entire binder of like those cards, and it's really
is that
cool.
What's next to the llama looking
it's
thing?
it's like right here. You can't really see it, but yeah, it's
Actually,
like
might
it's
get
in a
cropped,
Yu-Gi-Oh
but,
binder. Oh yeah, that's true.
Actually, speaking of, you remind me of something with reprints. Like it hasn't been around for a while.
Yeah.
So on my shelf there, I like that shelf specifically is all Marvel Legends, right? So Hasbro makes this line called Marvel Legends, and it's basically just a bunch of Marvel characters, and it's a 6-inch line, and that's what I collect mainly, 1/12 scale. I have a couple of 12-inch figures, and then McFarlane on that shelf there is 7-inch scale, which pisses me off so much. I hate that they just made it slightly taller, because then it doesn't match. Because I have some characters from Marvel that I'm like, oh, I could use these as goons, but then they go up to like their windpipe, and Batman looks like a giant. But anyway, so they go through these phases where they'll have a figure for a body mold of a character, and they'll just reuse the hell out of it. So for a while, they used the Bucky Cat mold, which I have like 7 of the exact same figures. It's just painted slightly differently. And like Spider-Man as well, they had the Pizza Spider-Man body mold, and they I think they just recently stopped using it. And I haven't gotten a new one. But basically I have a bunch of Spider-Man. It's literally the same figure, same accessories and everything. It's just a different color. And yet I still paid full price for every time, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know why I did that, but I'm also like, I like how it looks. Because like my shelf is basically just Spider-Man and, well, actually a lot of my Spider-Man are buried in the back right now.
Spider-Man with skins.
Yeah, pretty much. But like I have a Shocker figure that has the same body mold as like a Captain America figure. And things like that. So it works, because it usually works because it's just like, well, they're just average height, so that's fine. So it usually works, and like it keeps everything consistent. But they cycle through like the same 10. And it's like, and you can tell when a body, because I think that Bug Cat body mold's from like 2005, I want to say, and they were still using it up till now. And it makes some of the figures, like, I don't know if the machine they're using is getting old. Because, like, when I get a new figure with that body mold, it's, like, some of the pins in the elbows are, like, ready to pop out. So, anyway, that was a random tidbit about action figures. It just reminded me.
Did you, when you were younger, what kind of toys did you, like, play with? Because I had, like... Actually, I'll let you go first. What kind of toys did you have growing up?
I had a few... I really like Bumblebee from Transformers, so I had a lot of Bumblebee figures. I don't have any now. I don't think I have any childhood toys. Oh, I know there's one. I had an Iron Man. I had a hologram Iron Man. This is so random. I had a hologram Iron Man figure that I still have now. It's in my toolbox. Or like I have a bin for action figures, and it's supposed to be a toolbox. I just put extra figures in there because I only have so much space on my shelf. But yeah, I had that. I don't know if anyone else remembers this. I had a giant Bumblebee from the Transformers movies. And it came with a little teeny tiny Sam Witwicky figure. And it could like turn into a car, and it was supposed to be like to scale and everything. I don't think it was. I think he was far too small. Or Bumblebee was too big. I don't know. But yeah, I had a lot of Spider-Man figures because I like Spider-Man. I clearly still do now. I didn't, because I fell out of action figures and toys and everything, because I was like, duh, toys are for babies. And then I just played video games. Played a whole lot of Minecraft. And then in July of 2017, I got back into collecting action figures. And now I've gone overboard because I've spent too much money on my shelf.
Yeah, you were talking the other day, we were talking about like how expensive like My Hero Academia figures were. You said like hundreds or something.
Yeah,
I was like, man, that's so ridiculous.
Yeah, there's Figma figures. I have a couple Figmas. I have a Midoriya Figma and a Link Figma, and I had a Kirito Figma, but it got eaten by my dog, or not by my dog, my sister's dog. And that was a very expensive figure, and I was crushed. But that's besides the point. Anyway, so Figma, I really like their figures, but they had an Uraraka figure that I was tempted to buy. And then I saw it was like $150 after shipping, and I was like, I'll pass. Like the Deku and Bakugo that I have from Amazing Yamaguchi, I think between them I've spent like $250 on just those two figures. So it's like, so I don't know. I have spent a lot of money on action figures, but I've also been collecting a lot of import figures recently. So they're just figures from Japan, which maybe is why shipping is way more expensive. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I really like action figures. Clearly, I mean, I wish my big head didn't block it up so much because I like how my shelf looks.
They look nice. Nice.
Ooh, excuse me. So
last night I was you brought up imports, and I just immediately thought of this. Last night I was going through my Vanguard collection. What I'm doing right now is I'm going back, pretty much back in time when, you know, Vanguard had like just released like the first few years, and I'm going through and buying cards from like those older sets, and I'm pretty much recreating the decks like from way back when. And I was looking for a particular like card sleeve, so like, you know, you'll have the card and then you'll have like the sleeves that protect it so that when you play they don't get too damaged, right? They also look cool. They're kind of like skins. So I was looking for a particular sleeve, you know, and I tried looking on eBay, Amazon. They're all like super expensive. And then I came across this one Japanese site. I was like, this seems like a really huge scam. I went on the website, I look at the product and like the listing, and it was like a few bucks. It was like maybe $10, whereas on like eBay it would have been like $50. I'm like, this sounds like a scam, but I like it. So I look into it, and you know, they sell like a lot of stuff, and I'm like, maybe it's not so bad. I think probably the downside would be like the cost of shipping, you know, because it's from Japan. And I'm like, but I think the cost of shipping plus the cost of the item might still be less than what I'm paying, you know, on eBay. And so like I was almost tempted to like, you know, buy something from that site. But the only downside, of course, is like, you know, you pay like a really big shipping cost, and also like you gotta wait like almost a month for it to even be close to coming in.
Yeah, I had I ordered because I mainly order from Big Bad Toy Store. I'm not sponsored, but if they want to sponsor me, then absolutely. No, but I was like looking around because there was a specific figure I wanted to buy, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I found this one website, and a lot of the prices were in Canadian, which I was like, okay, I've yet to see that. And the second thing was that the prices were a lot lower than everywhere else, and I was kind of like, this seems far too good to be true. This is awful suspicious. And then it said it was 2 weeks shipping, and I was like, okay, well, they have the figure in stock, so there's a really high chance I'm gonna get a bootleg here, but fuck it. And then I bought it, and then it got here, and it was like, it arrived exactly 2 weeks, like on the dot. And it was a legit figure, like it had the seal and everything, so I was like, oh shit, okay. Wicked, let's go.
It's impressive. It's impressive how they get the shipping dates like almost exactly right.
Yeah, there's been times where I've ordered stuff and it says it's like it's still sitting in America, but then the post office is like, we're sending this back tomorrow if you don't come pick this up, and I'm like, what? According to my thing, it says it hasn't even gotten to Canada yet. So I'm like, I don't fucking know.
It's not even in Canada, but they're gonna send it back to America.
Well, that's the thing, is like, but then it turns out it's been sitting there for all this time. So I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with these things. I'm just a regular old consumer.
Dude, speaking of like just like Japanese merchandise, there's like this bookstore that we have. Well, there are a few bookstores around here. It's called Kinokuniya, and it's basically you see like a bunch of like manga, but it's not just like manga. They have like, you know, manga translated to English, but they also have like original Japanese manga, and I was like, dude, that's really dope. So they have that, and then they have like a lot of like what do you call it? A lot of pens and stuff, and then you know, just like a lot of like, what do you call it? The school supply-ish stuff. So like notebooks,
Oh.
paper. It's like a lot of that sort of stuff. I forget what that word is called. But yeah, that.
Academic?
I mean, I go back I go back to that bookstore, and it's just so cool, just like walking around and seeing, because they have like, they have like manga. They also have like different art books too, from like shows, movies, and film stuff. And I'm just like, dude, I wish I had the money to pay for this, because like a lot of the stuff in there is like pretty expensive, but also it's like, it almost seems worth it, because it's like
How much is
such a cool product.
How much is a? Oh, I guess is a manga chapters or like volumes? Because like a volume here, it's like
volumes.
12, I think it's like $13 Canadian. So I don't know. It's like
I think it depends on like what you get. I think 10 to 15 might be a average. Might be like 8 US.
That's
I don't know. The only manga you can't even see it. The only manga I've bought was Vanguard manga, and that was like from eBay or Mercari, so it's not really like retail price. So
I've been tempted to buy some of the My Hero Academia manga because I really like the cover art on some of them.
Yeah, the cover art is like, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just buy stuff just to like collect it.
There's also times because I'm like, I've been reading manga on my phone, which is fine. It can chew through battery, but I'm sort of like, sometimes I'm like, that'd be nice to have an actual like physical book to hold. But I don't know. It's still the same like experience, I guess. It's also a hell of a lot cheaper. Like Shonen Jump, a subscription for that is like $2. And then it's like, and then I get like a whole whack of manga on there.
Is that really how it works? You pay $2?
I just like, I pop this open, like 1, 2, and then boom, I'm reading manga. Boom, I'm reading manga.
Did you just advertise Shonen Jump?
I did. Give me money.
Give me my money.
So yeah.
Speaking of like manga, just like reading stuff, actually this kind of has nothing to do with it, but today we were going to talk about subbed and dubbed.
Oh yeah. I completely forgot that, actually. We're 42 minutes in.
we also forgot to introduce ourselves, so hello and welcome to the Shūmatsu podcast.
Episode 2. Hi, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Davis. So yeah.
Oopsies. Sub versus dub. This is a very heated discussion, not between us because we're civil humans. But on Twitter and different Reddit forums, and just the general consensus has always been, if you watch dub, you're a fake anime fan. And I take issue with that because I only watch stuff in dub. And so before I go into reasons why I watch stuff in dub, first off, I think the whole thing in general is really, really dumb as to why people like
the argument. The argument is dumb
because it's like, who cares? Like, whether you watch it in English or in Japanese, it's not even just in English, Japanese. Whatever language you want to watch anime in, it's still anime. You're still getting the same like general experience. I know they changed some of the words for translation and that kind of thing, and sometimes stuff will get lost, but overall you're still getting the same product, just delivered in your language. So it's like, I don't see a problem with that. The only time I see it being a problem is if you're sitting down with someone else and they prefer watching it in sub and you prefer watching it in dub, then it's kind of like, okay, well, how do we make this decision kind of thing. Me personally, I can watch anime either way. I prefer it in dub because I usually watch anime while I'm doing something else. So I usually have anime on my second screen and I'm like playing a game or whatever. But even when I am sitting down and just watching anime like solely, I still watch it in dub. And because it's like, I'm a pretty fast reader, so I have watched anime, and so I watched the second half of the War of the Underworld anime or SAO for in sub because the dub hadn't come out yet, and it's like I still got the same experience. I was a little bit weird because my brain is kind of like I'm like looking at the subtitles, but I think there's also a weird disconnect for me. At least for me personally while I'm watching it, and I'm reading the subtitles, so I understand like what they're saying, but I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know what they're saying, if that makes sense. That made no sense. But
I mean, but I mean, that's why they give you the subtitles, so that you could kind of understand what they're saying. I mean, sometimes I'll watch something in English dub, I'll be honest, and I still don't understand what they're saying, so I have to turn on the subtitles regardless if I'm watching in subbed or dubbed, because I can't hear apparently. But the real the reason why it seemed like it was a very abrupt cut to just the sub versus dub, but you had brought up manga, and most shows they get subbed first, but everyone's saying like subbed is better than dubbed, but the real originator here is manga, right? It's you got the people that liked subbed that hate on people that like dubbed. But then you got people that like manga that hate on people that like, just the show being animated, in the first place. It's not like a huge hate, not that I've seen, but it's like I could see like some sort of like a whole like, oh, I'm better than you because I've read the manga or something, like I've kept up, like, oh, I've already seen that, I know what happens, I could spoil it for you. There's always that sense of like, yeah, I know, the superiority is the word I'm looking for. There's always a sense of superiority.
Like I saw that a lot with My Hero Academia season 5, which was a little weird me watching because I have read the manga and therefore I'm better than everyone. No, but I read the manga and then I watched the show. I will say I wasn't rushing to watch the show because I was like, well, I have already seen this. That being said, though, I think I preferred it. It definitely felt different seeing it animated, because there's music, there's voice acting, it's all in color. It's a bit more like appealing. Than like, I think the one I've seen the most is people complaining about adaptation and them doing it wrong. The one I saw the most was with My Hero Academia. But like me personally, I thought they did a good job of it. Like I didn't really see anything like that was that big of a deal. So it's kind of like, I don't know, but then it's also like, well, if you have such a problem with the anime, just go read the manga. Like, it's sort of like causing a stink for no reason. I'm just kind of like, whatever.
I think, I mean, I don't have like evidence, but I'm pretty sure a lot more people like to watch anime instead of reading the manga, because it's just easier to just watch it.
It's just a lot easier. It's also, I think, arguably, anime is a bit more accessible than manga. I know I just showed how easy it was to go read manga, but but still,
there's so many more, like, streaming platforms,
but it's also a bit more easy, or it's easier to, like, I guess, sort of sell. It's like, hey, do you want to watch a funny show, as opposed to like, hey,
reading a book. Like, it's I feel like it'd be hard to read to sell a book.
Yeah. That's why they turn movies into books, or books into movies all the time.
You literally read my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, they it's like, I don't know. I think it's just a lot easier to. It's like when you look at the Game of Thrones books, they did well. That's why it got turned into a TV show. But then the TV show fucking took off. If you ask everyone that has watched Game of Thrones, like if you did a poll, I'm sure they've already done one actually. How many of those people watch or read the book? I'm willing to bet not that many people have sat down and read it. One, Game of Thrones is a huge fucking book. Wait, is it on my shelf? It's not. I have the
book.
I have the first Game of Thrones book.
Okay.
And I've read the whole thing, and and then I watched the show, and it's basically the same thing. It's just, I mean, it was a little weird because like I was kind of like, I I kind of forgot a lot of the stuff, but then it would happen. I'm like, all right, I remember reading that. But it was also kind of like, gotta be honest, I much preferred watching the show than sitting there reading this fucking 3,000-page book. I don't remember how. I think it's like 1,400 pages. It was a long book, and it's a very big book. And it was
That's the size of the Bible.
It also took me like 3 years to read it. It took me 2 days to watch through the first season. It didn't take me that long, but it did take me 3 years.
Yeah. So it's not just like easier access. It's also like easier. You manage your time better if you just watch it rather than just read it. But I will say though, I don't read now, but I would say like reading is more leisurely, you know?
Yeah. But I think the other thing is that they can condense some stuff. When you're writing a book, you have to explain like what the castle looks like. In a TV show, you just show the castle.
You just show it. Yeah.
You don't have to explain all of it, so they can condense all of those sort of things. So I don't know. I also Game of Thrones, they were pretty close to the book. I don't know about the later books. I'm only on like season 2. And I only read the first book, and I'm not gonna read the second one just because I'm like, it took me forever to read that one, and I don't read books all that often now. I read here and there. The most recent book I read was the Court of Owls book. It's a Batman book. But I haven't sat down and read like Of Mice and Men or whatever. Like on my own time. If it's for school, then it's like, okay, fine, I have to if I must. But I'm not.
Sorry.
No, I was just
you were
gonna
saying.
say, I just don't like. I don't know. When it comes to reading, I'm not gonna. I'd rather play a video game than sit there and read.
Yeah, it's just no. Books, there are better things to do than reading a book. I mean, there are more fun things to do than reading a book. I should say. Some people do like reading books, and kudos to you, because that's just not me, you know. I find more enjoyment doing other things. But.
Yeah, I like reading books, and there's things that I'm like, sometimes I wish I would get off the internet more and go read a book kind of thing. Because I'm like, when I look at how much time I spend like looking at Twitter and how much I hate it. Like, I hate looking at Twitter now most of the time. Because it's just like, there's just so much nonsense on there that I'm like, I just can't be bothered, and yet I still do it. Because I'm like, I think I've just kind of convinced myself that I'm like, oh, that's where I get all my news. And like, yes, it is where I get some of that stuff, but it's also like, there are better sources. I don't need to, spend. And also, there needs to be a balance. You know, I can't. I've tried getting rid of Twitter altogether and like deleting it from my phone. And I was fine for a little while, but then I started thinking about like, oh, am I missing out on stuff? And then I tried just doing, so I'm like, I deleted off my phone, so I'd only look at Twitter on my computer. But then I just find myself sitting on my desk for like 3 hours looking at Twitter. And it's like,
it's just ultimately the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like, it's whether I'm sitting on my bed or I'm sitting here, I'm still looking at Twitter for far too long. So, I don't know. But anyway, are we actually, hold on, did we cover everything for sub versus dub already?
No, there's still other things I wanted to bring up, like so you brought up like from manga to like adapting into a show. There's like the appeal of like voice acting and like visual appeals, and like I wanted to talk about something that doesn't really get mentioned a lot, like the narrating. When I'm watching a show, I really like when things are narrated, whether it be like at the beginning or like end of an episode or something. It's like, it's really cool. I one of the shows I want to bring up as an example is like Fairy Tail. They bring up each of the episode, in the beginning they bring up like a description of like the world, the kingdom of Fiori, and then like how there's like a guild of wizards that go on an adventure. When I'm watching an anime, I really like that for some reason. It's just when I watch a show and I see that, I'm like, wow, this is like, there's like some sort of backstory and whatnot behind it. I mean, of course, every show has like a backstory, but it's like that narrating bit at the beginning that they do, it kind of like, draws me in, Like,
Well, yeah,
this is what I'm getting into.
It's set up as like a, I don't know how to explain it. I was gonna say a hype man for some reason. That was popped in my head. Like, well, shit.
I think hype man would be not like the most correct term, but I think hype man would be
what
correct.
popped in my head was, again, Jujutsu Kaisen, because I'm like, I just watched the show, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of narration, because that's the most recent show I've watched with narration. Has Eden Zero had narration? I
don't remember.
I don't think
probably.
So. But there's a part.
It would probably be at the end. Yeah.
There's a part in Jujutsu Kaisen where where like actually the same moment, when he gets pissed off, he pauses for a second and he narrates to himself. But it's not like the typical like thinking part. It's sort of like him past tense, if that makes sense. So I don't know if it's gonna be revealed that he's telling this story to like his grandkids or something, or if it is just straight up narration. But it adds a lot to it. I don't remember the exact line, but he was basically just like, oh, he said some cool stuff about like wanting to kill this guy. And it was like, he was like, oh, basically he was just explaining it in a much cooler way. Hey, I'm real pissed off right now. And like, what else did it? My Hero Academia has some narration. And it's
I would say,
like,
I was gonna say, sorry, you were saying Sword Art or My Hero.
What? No, yeah, My Hero Academia, it has some narration, and there's been plenty of theories on it, because like he always starts, or like I think it's season 2, he started every episode being like, this is the story of how I became the greatest hero ever.
I like that too. Yeah,
and everyone's kind of like, okay, so I've seen people argue that it's like, well, it takes all the stakes out of the story because now you know Deku's not gonna die, and it's kind of like, I think that was pretty certain to begin with. But that also doesn't mean he's safe necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it's also like he's the main character. He's not just gonna get like, you know, suddenly shot in the head out of nowhere, and it's like, all right, well, that's it. If he's gonna die, it's gonna be a very like hurrah kind of thing.
I think it's cool whenever they take the main character and then they kill him. I mean, it's something you don't expect because, you know, main characters are probably going to stay to the end of the series. But, like, if they somehow kill him off, you know, and then bring him back, you know, it's like, whoa, I didn't expect him to just die.
I think a great example is Attack on Titan. I was going to say that too, Eren gets munched, like, a few episodes in. And then it's kind of like, oh, shit. And then we don't get the reveal of him being a Titan until, like, episode 11, I want to say.
Yeah, it's a little bit later.
But you see the Titan rampaging around, and it's kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it's revealed that it's Eren,
yeah,
which is pretty sick.
When I was watching through the first season of Attack on Titan, the only season that I finished, I was kind of not upset, just like I've been spoiled. Like I know, like he turns into a Titan, right?
Oh,
so like, when I saw him getting eaten, I was like, oh, I didn't think this was gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
But then he like emerged as like, you know, with like the hair.
Yeah.
You see the Titan with the hair, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Eren Yeager, you know.
Actually, maybe I'm just an idiot. When I first saw that, it didn't mean it clicked for me that was Eren. Like I feel maybe I'm just dumb, but I saw that and I was kind of like, oh, there's a Titan that's like just like wrecking people. Like
it's
cool.
Definitely because I've seen like stuff on Twitter. It's like, you know, screenshots of like Eren as a Titan and whatnot, or like him transforming and everything.
I think I put it together because I think I put it together before it actually showed him, because I remember being like, oh, okay, you know, I knew it, sort of thing. But because now I'm trying to remember the show. Was there a part where, because I thought one of the characters like looked at the Titan and was like, oh, there's something oddly familiar about that Titan. And
was it Armin? I think it was Armin. He was like,
it might have been.
He thought he was going to be eaten by Eren, but then he was like, oh, he didn't eat me. Well, it wasn't real, or it might have been Mikasa. No, Mikasa didn't know.
For some reason, Connie was the one that popped in my head. What did he say? Something? Him or Jean? Did they say something about it? I could have sworn. I don't know who it was, but I could have sworn someone said like, oh, that Titan looks awfully familiar. And then I was kind of like, oh, is it Eren? Because up until that point, I didn't know there was like people turning into Titans and shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, but that definitely made the show a hell of a lot better and
Yeah.
way more interesting. But it's also kind
I
of my problem with Aaron because I'm like, the only reason I like him is because he turns into a Titan. Like,
I mean, it's
outside of that,
cool.
outside of that, I find it to be kind of obnoxious.
When I was watching like a little bit later, like towards I guess the second half of the first season, you know, when you see Annie.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, you know, like you meet Annie like the beginning. She's like one of those students. But there's like one of those tropes where it's like when you have someone who's like sort of elite, like an elite student, someone who like does something really well, like she's a really good fighter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. She
when you see when you see something like that, you think in your head, or I think in my head, like, oh, she's probably gonna end up being some sort of obstacle, at some point. And then, you know, the female Titan shows up, and I'm like, oh, that's, in my head, I already knew that was Annie, you know, because she had like the hair, like the blonde hair.
I appreciate that they didn't treat the cast of the characters like idiots. Like, they see Annie and everything, and then pretty fast after that, Armin's kind of like, no, that's Annie, and everyone's like, no, yeah, you're right. Aaron's the only one that's like, no, I refuse. And then
Aaron,
like,
the guy being like, oh,
yeah,
but
and
like,
he's the
she's
one that
one of
fought
us.
her.
There's no way.
Yeah, it's like he's the one that fought her, and she had the stance and everything, and yet he was still like, no, there's no way, I refuse to believe it. It's like, what? But like that, things like that is what really like. And then season 2 and the first half of season 3, just Aaron just really got on my nerves because I was like, everyone else is awesome, and then Aaron's only redeeming factor is that he turns into a cool Titan. Everything else is I'm just I don't care. And then season 4 he was a bit more interesting. And then I've read the manga for that. And he continues that trend, and I like his character a lot more then. But I don't know. Attack on Titan is a good show, but I like season 2 and then season 3 part 1 just really I had such a tough time getting through it. Because it's like, yeah, Levi got to do some cool stuff, but I was still like, this is boring. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just I don't know. Like, it's like I'm fine with things slowing down. But how do I word this? Because I don't want to spoil stuff too much. Have you been spoiled for season 2?
No, have not.
So so I won't get into it. But it was just like there's things that happened in it that was like I was sat there. Actually, I shouldn't say that. The first half of season 2 was interesting. The first like 4 or 5 episodes were pretty good. And then
was that when the hairy guy, is that when he shows up? I have seen the first few episodes of
the Beast
2.
Titan.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the Titan that can talk. Yeah,
the really big one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, so it's like I have such a weird feeling about Attack on Titan because I'm like, everyone talks about how amazing the show is, but when I think of Attack on Titan, I'm like, it's pretty good, but I'm also not like, I don't know. It's not one of those shows that I'm like rushing to watch again because it gives me this sort of Game of Thrones feeling where it's like, I understand life is chaos and random, so it's like characters dying out of nowhere is like to be expected sort of thing. Or it's realistic, but I'm also kind of like, well, after a while when it's like you've seen so many characters that you like die, it's sort of like I had a moment where I'm like, what's the point of even getting invested in these characters? They're just gonna get fucking munched in half. That I was just kind of like, oh my god. So I don't know. I think there needs to be a balance. I think The Walking Dead did pretty good with that sort of balance. Because there wasn't, characters were dying fairly often, but it was still like you had plenty of time to sort of I don't know how to word it.
Develop
I guess
a character,
I guess it was a bit more spaced out with the deaths, and it wasn't as like, you know, suddenly whammo, everyone's dead. So I don't know, but still, Attack on Titan is a good show. Like, objectively, it's a really good show. But I'm still like, I don't know if it's something that I'm like, it's not my first choice if I'm gonna rewatch a show, if that makes sense. So
I was watching when I watched Attack on Titan, it's actually one of the first shows that I've watched in dub, and it's because I watched it with my sister, because she likes watching shows in dub, so she can, kind of like you, how she can do other things while watching or just listening. So when we were watching, I like immediately pointed out like the voice actor, being Kirito, or the same voice actor for Kirito,
Bryce Papenbrook.
And then we kept watching, and then you start to like, as you watch, as I watch, I start to pick up on more like familiar voices, like I think Chris Sabat is also like one of the guys.
He voices the guy. I can't remember it's one of the lieutenants that's like like when Armin does his speech about like, Aaron's a good guy, and then he's like, fuck it, kill him anyway. He's that guy. The Commander Irwin is voiced by the same guy that does Ida. Bertolt is voiced by the same guy that does Todoroki.
So yeah, they share a lot of like similar voice actors.
This is not anime, but the guy that does Levi's voice also voices Leon in Resi 4, which is pretty sweet. Matt Mercer. He also voices McCree. Is it Cole Cassidy now? I think his name is. It's not McCree anymore in Overwatch. Anyway, he voices a dude in Overwatch.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But so he also voices, and he does the voice for Levi. Connie is the same guy that does Bakugo, which that one I didn't pick up on immediately. And there's another one. I didn't pick up on that immediately until he was yelling. And then he was yelling about something, and I was like, holy shit, that's Bakugo. And Mikasa, I didn't get this one until the very end of the show, and I was watching a video on it. The same girl that does Jiro also voices Mikasa, which threw me off because I never picked
Jiro?
The girl with the ear things, with the earphone jack things.
Oh yeah.
I never once picked up on that. And then
that is a weird one.
I think I saw it on Reddit or something. Someone was like, "Oh, has anyone ever noticed that this character voices this?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I immediately went and watched the clip, and I was like, "Holy shit, you're right." There's probably more that I just can't think of. But yeah, there was a lot of characters that crossed over. In season 4, there's one of the characters is voiced by the same girl that does Nejire in My Hero Academia. There's probably more that I just can't think of right now. There's Deku's voice actor also does a voice, but it's a much more smaller role later in season 3. Overall, I don't know if it's just like they were in the same like studio and they're like, oh shit, we need a voice, and like they would just finish recording My Hero Academia. It's like, hey, you guys got an
they're
extra
just
15
walking
minutes?
They're just grabbing a cup of coffee. They're in the little break room. They're like, yeah, so I've got a little show that I need some voice actors for it. I need some people. And then they're like, oh, I got some free time,
Yeah, it's like, you guys got some time to voice this character.
Are there any voice actors? Actually, it'd be kind of hard to say because I feel like you'd have to watch both the sub and the dub. But are there any shows that you've watched that you didn't particularly like the dubbed actor for?
I don't know about any actors specifically.
Or any characters.
But I mean, Evangelion, that's an older show, but Evangelion had a couple characters that sounded like Shinji's dubbed voice actor sounds a little off. But I was able to like, because I'm like, I can get past it. But it definitely sounded a little off. Aaron's voice actor was a little tough to get used to at first, but then I got used to it pretty quick.
And he sounded just like Kirito, dude.
Yeah, it was basically just. But now I can only hear Aaron because he did. I will say he did really, really good at voicing Aaron in season 4. I know I keep bringing that up, but he did a really good job of voicing that. Like it didn't sound like Kirito anymore. He also voiced Inosuke in Demon Slayer, and I picked up on that, and I was like, no, that's just Kirito, with a slightly different personality. He's just a crackhead now. Tanjiro's voice actor was a little off. I still think his name's Zach. Oh, I can't think of his last name. Anyway, he did a pretty good job. I think he got way too much shit for that role. Like when Demon Slayer aired the dub, everyone was shitting all over his role as Tanjiro, and I'm like, no, I think he did fine.
Yeah, I think he did okay. Yeah.
I think there was some moments like during some of the action scenes. I think some of his like yelling was a little bit phoned in. But overall, I think he did fine. But then he also voiced Luca in Scarlet Nexus, and I think he fit that character a lot more than Tanjiro, because he sounded great in Scarlet Nexus. So I don't know. I think my other problem with dub is it's like, or with dub versus sub. If you have a problem, or if you don't like dub, that's perfectly fine. But like seeing some of the characters that like, what was it? Okay, this is kind of okay to I don't want to get spoilers, but like there's characters there's like voice actors get like death threats from stuff like that when it's like they've watched a show, or it's like they watch a show and it's like, you didn't voice this character perfectly how I wanted it to, therefore I'm gonna threaten to kill you now. And it's like, holy fuck, man, it's a cartoon. Like it's an animated show about like whatever the show is. It's like, you don't need to be. This goes for everything. Like The Last of Us Part 2, the girl who voiced Abby, or did Abby's thing, Lauren Bailey. Ugh, I could be wrong. Anyway, she got death threats too, and it's fucking ridiculous. So it's like I don't see why. It's like, if you don't like it, that's fine. Just go watch it in sub. That's your choice. It's like, if people want to watch it in dub, that's fine. You're still, once you want more people to watch the show you like so much, you know, like, why gatekeep it kind of thing. It's the same thing with like PlayStation games being on PC. Live action stuff, I can sort of, I'm kind of like 50-50 on like the Cowboy Bebop live action show that comes out next week. I'm cautiously interested in it because I like Cowboy Bebop, and the trailer actually doesn't look that bad, but it's still like, well, translating an anime into live action is almost impossible to do. Look at the live action Attack on Titan thing. That was god awful. And I thought Attack on Titan would be one of the anime that would be the easiest to translate into live action, you know?
Yeah. I saw the trailer for the Cowboy Bebop live action, and they played like one of the, I think they played the opening song in like Tank. The background. I like when shows carry over songs, or like, I guess you can say soundtracks to like the dub.
I'm a little,
because I was
sorry, continue.
I was watching Yugioh. I'm rewatching Yugioh, like the first season, and comparing it to like the dub, like the dub and the sub, like there's a lot of censoring like in the dub, but then also they take out a lot of like really iconic soundtracks that I liked in the subbed.
Really?
Now that I'm watching like the sub, I'm like, man, this scene is like really intense with this soundtrack, and it's like something that they completely took out and like replaced in like the dub.
I didn't.
Which is something, So not a lot of shows do that, but like Yu-Gi-Oh in particular is something that I point out just because it's like, yeah, this is a show that I definitely prefer the sub to, just because like of the music and not so much like the voice actors.
I didn't know that music gets replaced. Now I'm wondering if that's happened before.
I haven't seen enough shows to know or point out, but Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely one that I recognize easily.
The only show that I've watched completely in sub, I think was Attack on Titan. No, I watched that in dub, but maybe I just watched a lot of clips. I remember seeing a lot of iconic moments from that in sub, and I will say I did prefer Attack on Titan in sub. But like I said, I do other things while I'm watching anime. So I'm like, I do prefer to I prefer to hear it in English, because then I can just listen and do whatever else I'm doing. But it's like, I listened to some My Hero Academia clips in sub, and I'm like, no, this definitely sounds really good. So it's just sort of, the way I look at it, it's just kind of personal preference. It's like, it's still anime at the end of the day. At least I'd like to think so. But now I'm kind of like, I don't know, they replaced music. Music, like, can you imagine they replaced You Say Run? Like, that'd be...
Oh, that'd be awful.
That'd be a awkward thing. But anyway, sorry, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I wanted to bring up there were a few shows that I have seen, like both in sub and dub. One of them being like Dragon Ball. Well, not like to its entirety, but I've seen enough of Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z, like in both subbed and dubbed, to kind of know like the different voices. Did you know, actually, I think I might be wrong. I think the voice actor for Goku has been the same voice actor for Goku ever since like Dragon Ball like was ever created.
Right,
Like
so
she stayed Goku's voice actor for like up until now, I think. For Japanese subbed.
Isn't that like 30 years?
Yeah, I don't know. She's done pretty well with it.
Wow. I mean, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to bring up, speaking of Dragon Ball, I wanted to bring up Vegeta's voice actor too, because if there's a voice actor in Dragon Ball that I didn't particularly like, it was Vegeta's subbed voice actor.
Oh.
I think Chris Sabat did a little bit better with Vegeta than like the Japanese voice actor did, just like a little bit better. I don't know why.
I've never watched Dragon Ball, so I'm afraid to weigh in.
like Chris, whatever voices, whatever characters Chris Sabat does, he does pretty well. Like Vegeta.
I've only seen him as All Might, and then the guy in Attack on Titan.
And All Might, yeah.
But I really like Chris Sabat. He does an amazing job as All Might.
Yeah, that's another good one. Chris Sabat versus like in like All Might's character. All Might. Oh my gosh, have you seen the United States of Smash clip in Japanese sub?
I have.
It's so
that
cool.
That is pretty.
It's
good.
So I've seen. I watched this video. It was the guy who voices All Might, and they had asked him, "Can you recreate the scene, the United States of Smash?" And just watching him do the voice acting was just like, it was just amazing, because you see him pour everything into it, you know.
Yeah. I watched the behind the scenes thing from My Hero Academia, and he was like crying doing that scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's very emotional scene. That whole episode was amazing, or a couple episodes. Sort of All Might's final hurrah.
What was that? Was that season 2?
Season 3, like halfway through
season 3.
It's like
it was
episode
really
11,
good.
I think. I think it's
really
the highest
episode.
rated My Hero Academia episode. Is All Might's final outing kind of thing. I mean, it was a hell of an outing. His last punch caused a tornado, so it's like that picked up buildings. Like, you know, that's pretty fucking cool. I will say, I'm gonna talk about Jujutsu Kaisen again, because okay, this is gonna be minor spoilers for the show. But it happens in episode 1. Basically, the big gist of the show is Yuji, there's like cursed objects, and Yuji eats one of these cursed objects. It's of this cursed demon named Sukuna. He eats one of his fingers, and then basically it merges their souls. So Sukuna now lives within Yuji, and what makes Yuji so special is that he's able to tame Sukuna. And then he has to go on a journey to get all the rest of the fingers, and there's 20 of them, and he has to eat all of them and then deal with Sukuna. What I really like, because I've watched a clip of Gojo versus Sukuna a few times in both dub and sub. I think I prefer in dub, because I've seen this a couple times, but Jujutsu Kaisen's the one that comes to mind. Is in the sub, they changed it a little bit, but it basically sounds like they just did, like they just threw over like they went to Premiere Pro and like put an effect over his voice instead of, I don't know. I mean, it does the job, but I really liked his voice in the dub. They actually got a separate voice actor to do it, for one of Sukuna. And I really liked that. I also liked, this is again a little bit of spoilers for My Hero Academia. But Shigaraki's voice changes. Actually, you might have already seen that part. I don't know. His voice changes though, and it gets a lot deeper. To show his like mental state has changed. And it was like you could really tell in the dub, and then in the sub, I could hear a difference, and judging by a lot of the comments, no one else could really could tell either. So
that's not something that I picked up Was it when he got really angry and then did the thing?
Did the thing.
Was that My Villain Academia, like that arc?
Yeah. It just happened. So maybe you've seen the episode. I don't know, but his voice changes, and I really notice it in the dub. And then because I watched the clip in sub, and I couldn't tell the difference, and then all the comments were like, yeah, I couldn't tell the difference either. So I was like, okay, well,
Yeah, it's not really something. It's not something I picked up on, but yeah, I mean, good ears.
But I don't know. I really enjoyed, I like when they do stuff like that. It's not that it doesn't happen in sub, because like I said, Sukuna's voice is different, but it sounds like Yuji's voice actor just making a slightly deeper voice, and then they add an effect over it, and then it does the job. Don't get me wrong, but I found that Sukuna's voice in the dub, at least for me, had a bigger impact. But also maybe I'm biased. Because I watched the whole dub first, and then I watched a clip of the sub, and then made my judgments from there. So it's like, Jesus Christ, sorry. I didn't realize my cable was... So, I don't know. At the end of the day, my final thoughts with sub versus dub is it's just kind of like, you do you, boo kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just personal preference. Whatever you want to watch it in, and whatever works for you. I didn't know they'd change music and some stuff, so I'm kind of a little like
makes you curious,
well,
like what other shows have they done that too?
Well, yeah, because now I'm like, I don't think My Hero Academia had any changed music, but also maybe it did.
What I have to say with like sub versus dub is every time I want to start a show, I always go with sub first.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something, I've just always watched sub first. Like Fairy Tail, I've watched subs, and then, Demon Slayer subs. But then, when I rewatch it with my sister, I will watch it in dub, because she prefers dubs. And then, since I've already seen it.
I didn't know you guys watched Demon Slayer. Or maybe I did. I don't know. I was.
Yeah, well, actually, she watched it on her own in dubs, but then we watched the movie together in dubbed.
What do you think of the voices? Maybe that's what you're going to get to, and I just completely interrupted you.
Well, to answer your question, like I don't know, I still like the subbed voices better, especially Rengoku. Don't get me wrong, Rengoku's voice was still like, it was still pretty cool, but like I still prefer a lot of like the sub voice acting from like a lot of shows.
That's
actually
fair.
a long time ago, like I used to like the voice actor, like the English dub voice actor for Goku over the Japanese voice actor, but like, after watching and finishing Dragon Ball Super, in subbed, I was like, you know what, I kind of like Goku's voice in the Japanese voice, like the dubbing.
Yeah, I think it's just personal preference.
Yeah, it like sub had just like stuck with me at that point, so I'm just like, I'll just watch the show in sub. Whenever I watch a new show, I'll just watch it in sub. And then maybe later, if my sister wants to watch it too, we'll watch it in dub. Maybe I'll like it better. Maybe not.
Has that happened yet? Have you watched a thing that you preferred in dub?
I remember. I think a lot of the older shows are more memorable in English. I was watching.
Oh, sorry. What was that? Actually, continue. I'll mention it afterwards.
So I watched the first season of Beyblade, like the original Beyblade in English dub with my girlfriend, and a lot of like the dub, like it's just really dumb because it's it's more on like the cartoon side, but then like when you're watching like really older cartoons, like a lot of the dubbing it's just really quirky, really dumb.
Yeah.
It's really silly, and it just kind of like makes you laugh. So like in that sort of aspect, I do like the dubbed better. I think what's another show they did, like, oh, I can't think of it. But yeah, for like cartoons and such, like the more cartoony animes, like, you know, Beyblade, I do like the dubbing, because the dubbing, it just sounds stupid, you know.
Yeah,
Is really cool.
Yeah, um, like Pokemon, I think is also something that's more memorable because it's like, I mean, growing up, I didn't really watch anime because I didn't have the closest I got was like Teen Titans or like Avatar, where they took like anime elements and sort of worked it into the show. Maybe that's why I like anime now, because I love those shows.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was, because you saw the My Hero Academia movie, right? Not the third one, but did I ever send you the second one, or was it just the first one?
I think are you talking about the one with the glove that the girl makes?
Yeah. That's
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I've seen the first one.
Did you? Because you watched My Hero Academia in sub, right?
Yes.
Was that your first time hearing the My Hero Academia in dub?
I think it was.
And
I think I might have watched subbed and dubbed for My Hero.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I was gonna say, which one did you prefer for that one? I imagine because I've listened to some of the stuff in sub for My Hero Academia. And
I think overall, I still like the sub for My Hero Academia.
That's fair. Yeah, because I think because when I listen to it, and again, maybe I'm just used to it, because a lot of people complain about Deku's voice actor in English being too whiny, which I don't.
He is a little too whiny, I'd say.
But then, so that was the thing. Is like then hearing his voice in Japanese, I found it to be like much deeper. So it threw me off because it was like, what the fuck? He has his moments where, like in the goofier moments, it's a bit more high pitched, but for the like overall, compared to Justin Briner's voice, it's a lot more. It's deeper, which threw me off. But overall, I think especially recently they've gotten a lot better at matching voices. Like, I think Yuji's subbed actor and dubbed actor sound pretty similar to each other. So it's like, I think it works. And like, I think those are the best ones when it just sounds like the subbed actor just suddenly started speaking English.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Again, I think it's just personal preference. I'm probably going to always watch stuff in dub. I'm also not like, because there's people
You're
that
not
are
against.
there's people that are slower readers. Which is perfectly fine. So then it's like there's some people that can't watch sub because of that. So it's like if I'm sitting down to watch anime with someone and they're like, "No, I hate it in dub," then I'm like, "Okay, that's fair."
I while you were gone, I went over to my bed and you know,
right.
I
Sorry. I always
I went over. Huh?
I always forget that you're in like a bedroom because it looks like you're in an office. Like you have an office.
Does it?
Like, well, it gives off that sort of vibe. It has a very nice, like, professional look to it. Mine looks like a jumbled mess. It also doesn't help that I literally have my bed right next to me. I can't.
Yeah,
my bed's fucking huge. I can't get it out of my like shot unless I'm up against a wall. Because it takes.
I mean, mine just stays out of the shot. I mean, unless I was recording from my laptop right now, my laptop's pointed towards me, so or towards this angle towards my bed, so you'd be able to see my bed from that angle, but because you're looking like straight at me, you're not gonna be able to see the bed like at all because it's like on the side right here. But yeah, I was going over and you know how I had mentioned like I was like collecting older Vanguard decks, right? And I had immediately thought of there was a season of Vanguard that actually didn't get dubbed. They didn't get translated. And I was surprised because I was like, you know, this was like a really cool season. I'm surprised they didn't just dub it, you know, because for the first series of Vanguard, there were like 4 seasons. And, or I guess you could consider them 4 series. Anyways, so the 4th arc pretty much rounded off the entire first series. And, you know, it wasn't as long as, like, the other, you know, the first 3 series. So I'm like, why, you know, didn't they just dub it? I don't know. It was just weird because that was just one of the shows that I thought of that didn't get a dub, like, at all.
That's one of the downsides because I have to wait. Well, not me specifically, but, like, people that watch it, like, only in dub. Because it's like when the new episode comes out, I wait for the dub. So it's usually a few episodes behind, which usually I don't mind. Attack on Titan, the final season, I couldn't help myself, so I watched a few episodes ahead, in subbed. And it was like the same thing. It's definitely jarring. Don't get me wrong, especially because like when you're in like a big battle, and I've been so used to hearing the English voices, and then I keep going, and now it's in a different language. It's still the same like experience, but it's a little jarring for the first like couple minutes.
It kind of throws you off, but then you get used to it.
Yeah, so it's like, again, I can personally go either way, but that's what I was talking about. I was talking about like how, like, if I'm watching anime with someone else, it's like, and they prefer it in subbed, I can then watch it in, like, I'm fine with that. Anyway, so yeah.
Oh, but with this particular like season, I mean, the show's been out for like quite some time, and like I really think they're not gonna like translate it like at all. Like they went past the season and they went on and dubbed like other series, like the next series for Vanguard, and so I'm pretty dead set they're not gonna translate that one to dub. So I feel like would there be like shows that you would just miss out on just because they don't dub it like at all?
Yeah, that's still something I get nervous about. But then I'm also like, I've watched some. Well, I don't know how much of a niche show School Live is. Like, I don't know how popular that is. But it never got a second season, and it probably never will get a second season. But that was dubbed, so it's like there probably is stuff that is there's probably stuff that I will potentially miss out on, because it's not in dub. I will often get like deterred, I guess. This is kind of a bad example, but Scarlet Nexus, the anime, I haven't watched it yet because I'm waiting for it to be finished and dubbed, but they're like half a season behind. It's like episode 9's dubbed, and I think I just saw episode 19 go out. I'm also the reason I say that's a bad example because I'm not rushing to watch that show because I've played the game, so it's like, I'll watch it when I get around to it. But really, I was just curious to see if the voice actors are the same. Which I
speaking of games that have like a show adaptation, is that the word?
Yeah.
I think League of Legends recently came out with an anime
about that.
Yeah,
Arcane, I think it is.
I saw it. I was like, oh, is this like that one like documentary? Like, I think they did a documentary for League of Legends too or something. But then I was like, wait, this is like an actual show, like episodes and whatnot, not just like a movie or whatever.
Has some cool character designs, but I played it once because a guy at work was like, I love League. I've put like 4,000 hours into it.
Oh my gosh! I was
like, fucking hell. So I played it once.
My first experience with League of Legends was playing on. We had like a family computer. It was super old, like probably like 2000.
Oh, baby, League of Legends,
and this was
5 FPS.
It was I couldn't even get past like the loading screen. So I was with my friends, right? They're like friends from like the tennis team, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Davis, you should join us and play League with us, so we can have like a team of 5." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I joined them, and it takes so long. It just takes so long to like download or to like get onto the menu screen. So like how it works is like you have like a screen that's like you have like your shop, you have like your stuff, you can see your profiles and stuff, it's stuff that you can do when you're not playing.
But that then when you load was for me because like the reason I haven't played much League of Legends is because it's very daunting and confusing for me. Like I got to the main menu screen and I was like, I just want to play, like where's the play button? and then I played like one game and I was confused out of my mind because I was like, there's so much shit on screen that I have no idea what I'm doing.
So when you load into the game, it kind of what it kind of does is like it exits out of the client and then it opens up a new client. It seems like it closes out and opens up a new one, and then it opens in
like the launcher.
Yeah, the launcher, it just like opens in full screen,
and
it like loads like all the players and then like what percentage they're on, and mine like didn't even load at all. That's how bad of a computer it was. and then
This
like
baby has 1.5 gigs of RAM.
and then
I'll be playing
then,
League of Legends in like 3 years.
That's actually what happened. So I eventually got this laptop that I had now, and it's like a gaming laptop, so of course it has enough RAM to run stuff. So now I can run League, and then I tried playing my first game of League, and I get completely destroyed because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm pretty bad at when it comes to like real time games.
Yeah, is it a MOBA? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's called a MOBA.
I've played I've played Smite before.
I played Smite too.
I used to play a decent bit of that. And then like back in like 2014, I used to play that fairly often, and I enjoyed that. That game was pretty good. But a lot of big time multiplayer games, like the only one I ever got really like into was Overwatch. And even now I've kind of fallen out of it because like finding a game in Overwatch nowadays is like it takes forever.
Is it because no one's on it? Or?
Well, the game's falling off. Blizzard has made a lot of really dumb decisions, and it's just kind of like, really? But like the last time I tried to play was during the Halloween update, which is a pretty big deal for Overwatch. And I boot up a game. I sat there for like 10 minutes waiting for a game, and I was like, this isn't worth it. I was like, this isn't worth it anymore.
What the heck?
And then there's been times where I've waited 10 minutes to get into a game, and then it immediately logs back out because like not enough players. So that means it got into a game, and then someone immediately quit. So it's just not really worth waiting.
Wow.
So it's like I played a little bit of Warzone. That was pretty fun. I haven't downloaded it since I got a new computer because it's like 100 gigs.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But there's so many. There's like Valorant now. There's there's a game called Spellbreak, I think, which looked pretty cool.
Oh, so yeah, Spellbreak. I've played that.
Yeah, like there's so many different games like that. I mean, that's getting more into like the battle royale sort of thing.
Yeah. Fortnite.
Yeah, I've played Fortnite once.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, I see why people like this, but it's just not my cup of tea.
I played my first. I was over at my friends, and they were playing Fortnite. I was like, they'd asked me if I wanted to play, and I was like, yeah, sure. And they told me the controls. They were like, oh, you build with this and stuff. So I go in, and then I see like my first enemy, and then they immediately they see me shooting at them, and then they go do 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 do. And then they have like some sort of structure. And I'm like, what just happened?
I see how some of these people do it. They like wiggle their mouse around and boom, skyscraper. And it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, things like that are like, it's the same thing with like watching some play the games in Overwatch. Because I play Overwatch so much, I got into competitive. The highest rank I ever got to, I think, was like gold. Wow. And it goes up to diamond. So I got decently high up there. Like, cause I was a pretty good, not to brag guys, but I was a pretty good Genji player, and everyone hated me for it. I bought a Genji figure cause I like Genji so much. You can't see it. It's not on the camera, but it's up there. Anyway, but yeah, Genji is my favorite character. He's like a cyborg ninja. And he's really fun to play, but he's also pretty hard to learn. But it's like, cause like one of his abilities is the swift strike. And he basically just dashes forward and with a knife, and it does some good damage. But if you kill someone with that, the cooldown immediately replenishes. So you can get like a chain thing with it. So you can and then you have your ultimate, which is he pulls out the dragon blade, which is a katana. And then he just has the shurikens. So like the trick, and he also has deflect, which is OP, because it just deflects almost anything in the game. If you time it right, you can deflect like Zarya's ultimate, which is a black hole. And then the enemy team gets sucked into it. Hanzo's ultimate, if you deflect that, it fires the dragon back at them. It's usually just not worth it though. But like the biggest one is like with like Bastion, because he's like a minigun that fires like he does a crap ton of damage, but if you can deflect it, you can kill him pretty fast. Or if you time it right, rather. You can deflect like McCree's flash bomb and stuff, and it's he's a very OP character, but he's pretty hard to like, or at least I found him very hard to learn. And the Overwatch thing, it says like difficulty to play like 3 stars. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but it's like it's so satisfying when like watching competitive like esports teams play Genji is
Oh
insane.
my gosh.
'Cause it's like
I
you
love
can
watching
get-
competitive
yeah,
esports.
It's like you can get crazy chain kills with it and do like entire team sweeps with stuff because like you have the cooldown if you time it right. And it's like it's stuff I wish I could do. I got pretty close in one competitive game. And I felt like a badass. But I haven't played all that much Overwatch because like I said, it takes like an hour to get into a game now. So I don't know, it's a little unfortunate because I hope to find a game like Overwatch because I had a lot of fun with that and I played that
Yeah.
for 3 years.
Years? Wow.
Yeah, like 2018 is when I started playing.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a MOBA that I played. It's on mobile, so it's like a mobile MOBA. It's called Vainglory, and I think I brought this up to you once, but it was like my favorite game for like the longest time because I'd always play with like my friend, and then we'd queue up, and then we'd pretty much like dominate every team we played against. It's like
That's satisfying.
we're the golden pair. Yeah,
I
it's
used
always
to do
fun
that-
when you're playing
I used
with a
to do that
friend.
shit in Minecraft Hunger Games.
But recently, or like within the last few years, they had some problems with like their servers, and so now it's like pretty hard for them to like get their servers back to like how it was before. So what they did was like you can play the game, as it is, but it doesn't. It's not like League of Legends where like you have your own account and you have your characters with your skins. It's just here's the game with characters. We'll give you all the skins, right? And then you can just play. You don't like. There's no more like ranking up. There's no more like competitive. You go into a game and you play it, and that's what sucks. Is like Vainglory sucks now because there's no like you can't have an esports out of it anymore because it's pretty. You're just playing a game now.
Yeah.
There's no like you don't get any rewards for winning. It's just like, oh, you've won, good job, and then you play
On
again.
to the next one.
Yeah, and like there's no like elo or anything. Well, I guess there would be an elo, but like I don't know. You don't get rewarded for winning, and then you don't get much for losing either. You lose. Oh, too bad. You play again.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I wish
sucks.
I wish I was good at those kind of games. Like I said, the only game I ever got like semi decent at was Overwatch. But the other thing with Overwatch is it's the exact opposite of like learning how to ride a bike. Like you learn how to ride a bike and you're good forever. Like Overwatch, I would play Overwatch for like 3 weeks straight, become a god, and then I would stop playing for like a week and forget how to do anything. Or I'd go off and play a different game for a few minutes or for a couple days and come back to Overwatch and I didn't know how anything works. And it was like, because I played on PS4 for a long time and I cranked my sensitivity up to get better at stuff and I got used to that. And then I switched to PC for a while. But like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it is just the PC version, but like, because I got my new computer back in September and I played Overwatch. I haven't touched it since like beginning of October. So it's like, it was definitely some getting used to keyboard and mouse. Even now with PC gaming, I'm still not really used to it. I also have like a dirt cheap keyboard because I just got something because I didn't play PC games. So I just got something cheap and now I'm like, I regret that. Like I want an actual mechanical keyboard, but I'm like, damn shits cost money. So it's like, I don't know. I would love to get into another game like that though. Something along like Valorant. I played a little bit and that was pretty cool.
It's cool. I'm really bad at first person shooters or shooter games in general.
Yeah,
really bad.
I hear that. I do find it's way easier to aim with a keyboard and a mouse because obviously it's like aiming with an analog. Even thinking about it now is making my toes curl up because it's like it's so frustrating having to aim, like do little precise movements with an analog stick. So it's like it is a lot easier with a keyboard and mouse. So I don't know. I mean, this is getting a little off topic, but I will say since I've gotten my computer, I've become a true PC gamer.
Wow.
I've barely touched my PS4 since I got this thing. I almost feel like a little bad. I feel like I've betrayed my PS4. Because I got my new computer, didn't touch it. I played like an hour of Persona, and I've yet to go back to my PS5 4. I don't have PS5. So it's like, but it's also like beyond using keyboard and mouse, the 60 FPS and everything is just, I don't know. It's, I much
I mean,
prefer.
I'll tell you what. I got a Switch recently, like a few months ago, and I got like Mario Tennis, whatever. It was just a game, and then I also got like Pokemon. It was like Pokemon Sword because we said we were gonna do like a project, but then we ended up scrapping that. And so,
And here we are.
But either way, like I haven't touched my Switch in like so long.
I know. I
Yeah,
got
it almost feels like I almost feel bad because I'm like, man, I just spent like a lot of money on this, and yet I haven't even touched it. And yeah, I don't know. There just hasn't been a game that I've been wanting to play, but that's why I'm like kind of glad that like Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is coming out soon, and then next year we get Pokemon Legends Arceus.
That I'm very excited for.
I'm really excited for that.
Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is more like a nostalgia trip. Like I'm playing Pearl, but I'm just kind of like, I'm not expecting like this game to change my life. I'm like, no, this will be a fun Pokemon game to play on the Switch. I really want them to move like every Pokemon game to the Switch. It's just so much more convenient. But
they've definitely tried porting or like moving older games to like whatever system was like in at the time, because like for 3DS they had like, I think they had Pokemon Red and Blue for like the
virtual console. I actually played Pokemon Red on my 3DS.
Oh really? Oh wow. Yeah. Is it different? Like, do they still have like the square screen?
Yeah, it's a square screen. The bottom screen just says tap this to back out. And then that's it. But it's the same game. It was cool. Wow. I played it when I was a little bit younger, so I only got to like the 5th gym. I didn't have the appreciation that I do now, because I was kind of like, man, these graphics suck. Like, it's like 4 pixels and that's your Pikachu. So I don't know. But
I'll tell you what though. Like with Pokemon games, like I like the first and second generation. I like the 5th generation, because this is the first one I started out with. The 6th one is okay, and I haven't played the 7th or like Sword and Shield. But when it comes to like generation 3 and 4, which is actually kind of surprising, I like don't have like any sort of attachment to them. Fire Red, Leaf Green, maybe. But like I really haven't played through Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, or Diamond and Pearl like a lot. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't stick with me as much as like Gen 1 or like Heart Gold Soul Silver or Gold and Silver.
Yeah, Heart Gold Soul Silver for me. Soul Silver is my favorite Pokemon game. But I prefer Heart Gold Soul Silver over, like, that might be an obvious thing, but like I've tried playing Gold and Silver before. I played it on my phone once. And I was kind of like, this is cool, I guess, but it just made me want to go play Soul Silver.
Yeah.
Hi, Zuko. Sorry, he keeps popping over the camera. He might be cut out right now, but his head's, it's because I have fries on my desk, so he's not interested in me. But anyway, what? No. Sorry. The game, I much prefer Soul Silver, so when people ask me my favorite Pokemon game, I say that, but it's like, what's your favorite generation, I'm kind of like, I don't know, would it be Gen 4, I guess? Because I'm like, I prefer something like Black and White over Diamond and Pearl,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like saying Gen 4 seems like if you exclude Heart Gold Soul Silver, right? If that's separated from every Gen 5 is, I think, my favorite. Gen 6 is also up there because I have a lot of nostalgia for that. I got that game almost as soon as it came out, and I played the shit out of it, and I wanted, it was right around the same time I learned about Nuzlocke, and I wanted to do one, and I was like, I found out that there's no like multiple save files. I had to delete my team or delete my save and get a new one. I remember crying because I was like, no, my whole team's here. I have my Blastoise and my, what's the final, Chestnut?
Chestnut.
And I had my whole team together, and I was like, no, these guys got me to the Elite Four. I can't abandon them. So I took pictures of them on my. I think I had an iPad. I took pictures of on something, kind of like I'll never forget you. I'll recreate this team one day, and I don't know where those photos are.
Oh my gosh.
So I deleted it, and I never did a Nuzlocke. I deleted my save file. I played up to like the first gym, and I lost my starter pretty early on, and I was like, man, Nuzlocke suck, and I stopped doing it, and I just revived my starter. Just said, fuck it, I'm not doing a Nuzlocke. So
Yeah, whenever I played through Nuzlocke, just like on my own, I'm like, I'll bend the rules a little bit. It never happened.
I was gonna do a Nuzlocke on Shield when I first got it. And then I said fuck it halfway through because my Pokemon died, and I was like, no, I want to see the new Pokemon. Pokemon. So I just said screw it and revived it. Anyway, sorry, I just completely cut you off.
No, I finished my thought. But I was gonna say though, talking about Gen 4 again. I'm kind of excited for Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Kind of contradictory to what I just said, that Gen 3 and 4 aren't like something that I'm attached to, but hopefully with Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, I'd start to have a better appreciation for Gen 4 games. Because like I have played through those games and I did like them. It's just it doesn't have that replayability as like Gen 5 or like Gen 1. Like
that's fair.
Probably because like I'm used to them,
Gen 5 for me, I guess this is kind of cheating because I haven't played through 7 and 8 yet. But Gen 5 for me, I think is the one I have the most replayability on. Like there's been times I've like literally just finished Black and White and I'm itching to play it again, and I don't know why. I really like those games. It's kind of funny how like everyone hated those, and then there was the whole trend of everyone being like, no, Gen 5 is the best, and now it's happening in Gen 6 because everyone shat all over that game, and now we're starting to get to the point where everyone's like, no, it's really good, I swear. So it's like, I don't know. I've yet to find a Pokemon game that I just straight up like hated.
Did you ever see the feature? Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
For Pokemon Black and White 2. I thought that was like the best thing ever.
Wait, what feature?
It was like an animated trailer for like Pokemon Black and White 2.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So N shows up, and the guy with the green hair, he shows up. He like walks from like a mist of clouds. And he's talking about like truth and ideals. You know how he is. And then he's like, which one will you choose? And then it's like all intense. You got like the I think they're Wingles. The Wingles pop in, and then they're like the main character and like the rival. They're like running up. It's like pretty much recreating the games, and it was really cool. And when I watched that for the first time, I was like, dude, this is so intense. Like, this is so cool. And that's probably why I like Pokemon Black and White so much, or Pokemon Black and White 2. It's just like that alone is great. I wish they did that more.
I really, that would, I don't know. I really like the story for Black and White as well. I don't know. Maybe it is just nostalgia.
It was funny how like in like the beginning you're like taken to a museum, and then the guy's like, oh, this is just some old rock we found.
Yeah, it turns out it's the thing that holds like the greatest power in the universe. Like, just casually.
But yeah, speaking of like nostalgia, I feel like that's like a topic we could probably do for our next podcast.
Oh yeah, I could talk about that for
just
years.
shows that we remember like watching back then that sort of bring that nostalgia sense.
The three shows that popped in my head immediately was Spectacular Spider-Man, Teen Titans, and Avatar. Those three I could talk about forever.
Yeah, I mean they don't even have to be like the greatest shows ever. I mean, some of the shows I like are like have really bad dubbing. Beyblade, for instance. Well, I don't know if Beyblade is like one of my favorites. It's definitely nostalgic, I'd say.
I'm trying to think. There might be some shows that. Maybe some old Disney shows. I really like Jessie on Disney.
Jessie.
It's like it's not an animated thing. It's a live action thing with Debbie Ryan.
Okay.
But I've watched literally every episode of that show like a handful of times because in New Brunswick. Oh shit! I should have said that. But where I used to live, where I used to live, I didn't have internet, so I just had to watch TV all the time. And because of that, I recorded every episode because they just did reruns. I recorded every episode. I cry at the end of the show, and then they did spin-offs, and they kind of sucked. But Cameron Boyce, who played Luke in that show, he actually passed away a couple years ago, and I remember that like throwing me for a loop because it was like, holy shit, this guy was like part of my childhood. Now he's like, he was very young. Like, I don't know exactly how old he was, but he was like early 20s. But yeah, I cry at the end of Jesse. That is I have a lot of nostalgia with that. Like I said, next episode, and I mainly just started talking about it now. Sorry, I know we're like 2 hours.
No, it's all good. It's a good precursor, I'd say. But yeah, like in the next episode, we'll probably talk about shows we liked in the past, shows that shows that we'd probably still watch today. I guess, would you consider that guilty pleasure?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the show. I feel like something like Totally Spies. I used to watch that a lot, and that's I don't know.
I thought Totally Spies was cool though. But yeah,
show.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Shūmatsu podcast. We hope to see you guys, or have you guys listen to us in the next one.
Yeah,
you got any final words, Matthew?
This episode was slightly longer than the next. That's our goal. Every episode to make it just a teensy bit longer. So then by when it's like when 1 year has passed, these episodes will be like 5 hours long.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah, just thanks for listening if you made it all the way to the end. Yeah, that's it for me. So
let us know if you prefer subbed or dubbed.
Yes.
And then also let us know what other topic suggestions you have for us, because we'd love to talk about anything and everything.
Yeah, I'm not limited to one thing. So anyway,
we'll see you guys next time.
bye.
Peace out.